All right, Shalom, Shalom, Israel, Shalom to the 12 tribes of Yasha Allah, giving a chorus, all honor, glory, and praise unto the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Mahashiach, one Malaki Hawashah. That's all praises, honor, glorification unto the Most High God, Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, Mahashiach, one Malaki Yahweh, who the world refers to as Jesus Christ, and he is the Savior of the nation of Israel. All right, Shalom, Shalom. I'm going to get straight into this. It's going into Israel loving strangers. All right, because Israel, even from the ancient times, we can read about this in the book of Isaiah, right, and Jeremiah. Even from ancient times, Israel and the Israelites of today are identified as the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And remember, the Israelites have we have a certain characteristic, right? We have certain characteristics that we can see, and there's certain parallels between so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in the Americas with the Israelites of antiquity found in the scriptures, right? There's some parallels, and Israel has been the same, right? Israel has not changed, you know what I'm saying, in their spirit. They've, like it says in the book of Ecclesiastes. All right, let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes, right? Chapter 3 and verse number 15. That which have been is now. So that which have been is now, meaning the things that occurred in the past are also occurring now, right? That which have been is now, and that which is to be have already been, and God requires that which is past. The Most High requires that which is past, right? So if Israelites, acted a certain way and had certain characteristics in the ancient world, so likewise in the modern world, they would have these same characteristics, right? And we can see this happening. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, they love strangers. They love other nations, right? They love to cleave onto other nations, especially their number one oppressor, which is Esau, right? The so-called white man, right? Our people love to mimic them. They love to serve their gods. They love to take on their cultures, right? And just want to assimilate into their culture and world, right? But guess what? The Most High, he's been talking about this and condemning it ever since Israel started to do it, right? And in the ancient world, right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 2 and verse 5. O house of Jacob, come ye, and let us walk in the light of Yahweh. Right? So you want to walk in the light of Yahweh, right? Let's go to the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 1, right? Walk in the wisdom, walk in the knowledge and the commandments, right, of Yahweh Bash and Yahweh Shah, right? That's the light, right? And the light is also symbolic for Yahweh Shah. You can read about that in John 8 and 12. This is Baruch chapter 4, verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of God and the law that endure forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. So when you keep the commandments, you come to life, right? And that even is going into spiritually and even on a different level onto what life eternal, right? Your belief in Yahweh Shah and your the keeping the commandments brings you unto life eternal, as it speaks, right, about in the book of John chapter 11, right? But this is Baruch chapter 4 verse 2. Here's a point: turn thee, O Jacob, and take heed of it. Take heed of what? Take heed of the laws. Take heed of the commandments of the Most High. Walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated, right? So the Most High said, walk in the light, right, of the Most High, right? But let's get to the point. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 2, verse 6. Therefore thou hast forsaken thy people, the house of Jacob. So the Most High has forsaken the house of Jacob, right? Why? Right? Because we're going the hell off. The Lord said, the Lord basically, the Lord cast us off, right? At one point in time, the Lord even said that he cast out the whole seed of Ephraim, in Jeremiah chapter 7, verses 15, right? But let's keep reading. It says, therefore thou hast forsaken thy people, the house of Jacob, because they are replenished from the east. What does that mean? They're replenished from the east, meaning that they took of the gods and of all the idols, right, of the east peoples, and brought it to Israel to worship, right? And are soothsayers like the Philistines. They're soothsayers, right? Soothsayers are off, right? Those are enchanters. You know what I'm saying? That's condemned. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, right? Our people are soothsayers, not for the Most High, but for idols and for false gods, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy. Salaki, let me pull this. This is Deuteronomy chapter. I believe this. Right. Khan. Right. All praises. This is Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahweh. And because of these abominations, Yahweh thy God doth drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. So the Lord gave a specific commandment not to be a charmer, not to be a wizard, not to dabble into all these different types of magic and sorcery, because these things are actually real. You know what I'm saying? So the Lord, when we go back to Isaiah chapter 2, verse 6, they're soothsayers for like the Philistines, right? So Israel is trying to act like the Philistines. They're trying to act like these other nations, right? Oh, the Philistines, they're soothsayers. Let's be soothsayers, right? Oh, that's what they're doing. Hey, let's try that out, right? No, the Lord said, don't do that, right? Isaiah, and the reason why the Lord is casting out the certain nations in Canaan, right? The Lord also said, right, in that chapter in Deuteronomy, that what? He's casting them out because they're doing these things, and that I don't want you to do it, right? That's why the Lord said, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 7, right? The Lord didn't even want to make the Lord doesn't even want to make covenant with the Canaanites. Why? To avoid us copying and mimicking their ways, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 7, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 7 and 1. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, which is the land of Israel, right? AKA the land of Canaan. It says, and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. You see that? So the Lord said that when you go into the land of Canaan, because there's already going to be people there. So when you go into the land of Canaan, you can read about the conquest of Canaan, led by Joshua, the son of Nun, right? In the book of Joshua. And that's in the book of Joshua, it gives you the accounts of us conquering Canaan, the land of Canaan, and the tribes having their own allotted land, right? But when the Lord said that when you go into the land, you are not to make any covenant with them. You can't even make a covenant with them, right? You can't make an agreement with them, and you're not supposed to show any mercy unto them. Why? So that their ways can perish, and that you can't mimic their ways, right? You can't serve their gods. Right, but guess what? Sometimes Israel made covenants with the Canaanites, and all hell broke loose. Right, verse 3: neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Why couldn't you make marriages with the Canaanites? Because marriage, right, between an Israelite who has a whole different culture, right, than the heathen, right? The Israelites and the heathen, those are two different worlds, two different cultures. The Lord even said in the book of Isaiah chapter 45, verse 17, that Israel is its own world, right? But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with the everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. So Israel is its own world. Israel has its own culture. We have our own heritage, right? That was given to us by the Most High, right? You can read about that in the book of Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. Right? So the Lord gave us a heritage. When you go to the book of Sirach, chapter 24, right? Let's just pull that real quick. Right? Our heritage, the heritage of the Israelites can be found in this Bible, right? And they're simply the laws of the Most High, right? Because the laws teach you what to eat, what not to eat. The laws teach you ceremonial rituals, right? The laws teach you how to conduct yourself, right? How to live, right? And that's what every culture has. Every culture has its own set rules on what and and their own customs, what they eat, what they don't eat, what they do on certain days, what they don't do on certain days. Every culture has this. So the Israelite culture can be found written in the laws of the Bible and throughout the Bible, really, right? But let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 24, verse 23. And all these things are the book of the covenant of the Most High God, even the law which Moses commanded for an heritage unto the congregations of Jacob. So Moses, he gave us the laws, and these laws are our heritage, right? Like I said, they teach you the laws tell you how to dress, right? Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5, right? The women have their own dresses, the men have their own dresses, right? Or outfits, rather, right? Numbers 15:38, right on down. That gives you the commandment of the fringes, right? Et cetera, et cetera. Leviticus 11, what to eat and what not to eat. These are the dietary laws, right? So let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 7, right? So when we go to Deuteronomy 7:3, it says, "Neither shalt thou make marriages with them." So we can't make marriages with the Canaanites, right? We can't make marriages with the Canaanites. Why? Because a marriage will fuse these worlds together, and it will fuse these cultures together. So now you have men, right, serving the other gods of the Canaanites, right? Because they're women, right? And then guess what? This man's children, though they be Israelites, let's say Israelite man links up with a Canaanite woman, and these cultures are going to combine, right? And these worlds are going to collide, right? And so, the Israelite man, he has two choices. He could give up his own culture, and that's most of the time that's what happens. The Israelite man, he would give up his culture, and he would start bowing down onto the gods of this heathen woman that he's married, right? And likewise, his children, he would teach his children to forsake the ways and customs of his own people, right? But it says what? Deuteronomy 7:3, "Neither shalt thou make marriages with them, thy daughter shalt not give on Slaki, thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So would the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly." Right? And we always, whenever we get with the heathen women, and it's not like, it's not a sin to get, like, let's say for a Moabite, it's not exactly a sin, but it's not expedient, right? Because a lot of our people have erred because of these heathen women, right? Into being influenced by them, and now they're trying to act, or they're trying to assimilate into the Moabite culture. They're trying to assimilate into the Ammonite culture. They're trying to assimilate themselves into the Ishmaelite culture, and that's not right. The Most High doesn't want that, right? So right? Because when all cultures try to get together, back in the book of Genesis chapter 10, what happened? The Lord, right? Let's just get that account real quick. Let's go to Genesis chapter 10. Let's go to Genesis chapter 10 and verse 1, right? Salaki, Genesis 11. Salaki, Genesis 11. Genesis 11 and verse 1. "And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech." What is this language? His language is Hebrew, right? But the whole earth was of one language, right? Isn't that what Esau, that's what he wants. That's what he's striving for, the whole earth to have one language, which is what? English, right? English is technically a lingua franca, right? What's a lingua franca? Let's look that up, right? So a lingua franca is just, I'm gonna just look it up, right? So as you're looking on your screen right here, right? So this is a lingua franca, right? It says a language that is adopted as a common language between speakers whose native languages are different. So a typical, or the lingua franca of today would be English, because every nation, really, if you trying to make business, if you trying to be up there in the top, right? Your ambassadors, your people have to know English, right? That's how Chinese people talk to Indian people, right? From East India, they use English, right? That's how Russian ambassadors talk to British people or French people even, right? They could learn the other language, but they mainly use English because English is the lingua franca. Just like back in the ancient Rome or ancient world, when Rome ruled the earth, the lingua franca at that time was Latin, right? It was Latin, or when the Greeks ruled, it was Greek, right? But et cetera, et cetera. So during the time of Genesis chapter 11, right? During the time of Genesis 11, the lingua franca was basically Hebrew, right? And the earth was of one language, right? Genesis chapter 11, verse 2. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. So they're building the city, right, together. All these different types of people, all these different ethnicities of people coming together, having one language and one speech, right? And they're building together. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And Yahweh said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. So what is the Most High going to do, right? The Most High sees how man is integrating himself together. Hey, there was marriages going on, right? During this time, no doubt. There was marriages going on. There's people, switching cultures and switching and just coming together, right? As one people, singing Kumbaya, right? But the Lord is witnessing this. So what is he going to do? What does he think about it, right? Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. One of the barriers between nations, between societies, is what? Language. There is a barrier. Language is a barrier that cannot be seen and cannot be touched, right? It's not tangible, but it's there, right? If you being an English speaker, I'm assuming, you being an English speaker, and if you go to the rural parts of Russia where they don't know any English, how are you going to communicate to them, right? It's going to be very, very hard, right? Except through the use of what? Google Translate, et cetera, et cetera. But without that, you will not be able to talk to them. And so that will put a barrier between you and them, right? Because easy communication is not there, right? So likewise, this barrier, the Most High, in order to divide the people, right? He wanted to divide the people, right? That's what it says in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 8. He divided the people, right? But in order to divide the people, the Lord, what? Separated them and confounded their languages and gave them other languages so that they couldn't speak together, right? So that's what happened, all right? And he destroyed that Tower of Babel, right? But back to the main point, you know what I'm saying? Let's go back to Isaiah. This is Isaiah chapter 2, verse 6. Therefore, thou hast forsaken thy people, the house of Jacob, because they are replenished from the east and are soothsayers like the Philistines. And they please themselves in the children of strangers. They please themselves in the children of strangers, right? That's what Israel delights in strangers, right? In heathen, right? So let's go to the book of Jeremiah. The Lord doesn't like that. The Lord said, I'm gonna forsake you since you want to forsake me and go after these other nations, right? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 25. Withhold thy foot from being unshod and thy throat from thirst. But thou saidest, there is no hope. No, for I have loved strangers, and after them will I go. So that's what Israel said. I have loved strangers, and after them will I go, man. Right? The Lord loves Slakia. Israel loves strangers, right? But the Lord said that, look, right, I'm going to confound them for that. Let's go to the book of, what was this at? Let's go to the book of Proverbs chapter 3, right? Let's go to Proverbs 3 and 31. All right, that's what the Lord said. Proverbs 3 and 31. Envy thou not the oppressor and choose none of his ways. The Lord literally just said it right there. envy thou not the oppressor, right? And choose none of his ways. You have Eve, right? You have Eve taking out her natural hair, right? And putting in blonde, straight hair, right? That's envying your oppressor, because the whole point of putting in a weave that is blonde, right, is to mimic these so-called white women, right? And so the Lord explicitly stated, envy thou not the oppressor. Because guess what? The so-called white man and white women are the oppressors of the Israelites, right? When we go to Jeremiah, right? Let's just prove that real quick, right? Because we're in captivity, all right? We're under oppression. That's what the Lord said in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, right? You're going to be crushed and oppressed always, right? And so the Lord lifts up those curses. But it says Jeremiah chapter 50, right? And verse what? Right? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50, right? Slack, let me look this up. Right? This is this is Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 33. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah, meaning northern and southern kingdom, were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. You see that? So we're being oppressed together right here, northern kingdom and southern kingdom, in the land of Babylon, right? We're being oppressed together, because as much as Eve or Southern Kingdom, so-called blacks, and these other nations, Northern Kingdom, the so-called natives and Latinos, they also envy the oppressor too. They envy these other nations, right? They want to be like them, right? They want to assimilate into their culture and take on their gods and idols and rituals, right? And customs, you know, et cetera, et cetera. They like to cleave onto these other nations, right? But the Lord condemns that, and he speaks against it, right? The Lord said, be therefore separate, man, right? Let's go to the book of Leviticus. This is Leviticus chapter 20 and verse number 26. And ye shall be holy unto me, right? What does holy mean? Holy means separate, right? Separate. Ye should be separate. The Lord didn't say, get with every nation, right? No, the Lord said, be therefore separate, be separate, right? Be holy, right? And ye shall be holy unto me, for I, the Lord, am holy, right? And have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine. The Lord severed us from other people. What does it mean to sever something? Meaning to cut it off, right? If you look up a severed head, it'll be a head that's detached from its body, right? From its torso, right? That's a severed head, right? So likewise us, the Lord made all nations. Yes, the Lord made all nations, but he took Israel to be that holy nation, and he cut off Israel from all the other nations. So if we understand that, why in the hell are we assimilating and trying to get back with that group, right? How come we're assimilating with the other nations when the Lord literally severed us from these other people, right? Doesn't make any sense, right? What will be the point of the Lord severing us or cutting us off from all those other people, right? Because let's go to the book of Second Ezra. Let's get the shotgun, right? Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. So yeah, we all come from Adam, right? But guess who also comes from Adam? The Israelites, right? It says, what? All these have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. So the world was made for the sakes of Israel. Let's get that in the book of Second Ezra chapter 7, verse 11. Because for their sakes I made the world, and when Adam transgressed my statutes, then was decreed that now is done. So the world was made for Israel, right? Let's go back to the Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 56. As for the other people which also come of Adam, so you have other people that also come from Adam, right? Thou hast said that they are nothing. The Lord said that in the book of Isaiah, right? Chapter 40, I believe, right? The Lord said that they are nothing. The Lord said that the heathen are nothing. So why in the hell are we trying to be like them? The Lord told us that the heathen are nothing, right? But be like unto spittle. They're like unto spittle, right? and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. So when you have a bucket of water, right? You have a bucket of water and you're trying to carry it to somewhere and a little drop falls onto the ground, you don't really care about that drop. So likewise, the heathen, they're that little drop that falls from a vessel. They're nothing, right? They're nothing. But, another reason why our people like to act like these heathen and try to be like them is because these heathen have the rulership right now. Esau has the dominion right now. So it's no wonder why our women like to get with their men. And it's no wonder why like our men like to get with their women. And there's no wonder why our people try to be like their people, right? There's no wonder because Esau, these other nations, Moab, right? Ammon, right? Ishmael, Ham, even these men or these heathen, these nations, they have the dominion right now. They have rulership. They have money, right? They're rich, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So they have the power, right? So let's go to the book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24. This is Job chapter 9, verse 24. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So the Lord said that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? Who's ruling the earth right now? We already established that. That's Esau and the other nations. They're ruling the earth. They have power. Power was given unto them from the Most High, right? Power was given unto them from the Most High. But as the Most High said, he sets up whom he will, right? And so let's go to the book of Daniel chapter 4 real quick, right? Actually, let's go to 2nd Ezra real quick. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 9, right? It says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So Esau is the end of the world. What does that mean? In the end of the world, Esau will be in rulership, and Jacob will have that rulership after him, right? So Esau and the other nations, they're in rulership right now, right? Because they're also known as wicked, the heathen, right? But guess what? Just because that they have the rulership right now doesn't mean anything. Let's go to the book of Psalms, right? Let's go to Psalm chapter 37, right? And verse, actually, let's go to Psalm 72, right? Let's go to Psalm 73. Psalm 73 and verse 1. Truly, God is good at Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. So even Asaph, he was envious at the workers of iniquity, at the foolish. He was envious at the heathen, and he almost tried to be like them, right? But guess what? Even though they have the dominion right now, that doesn't mean anything, because our dominion will be after theirs in this time, and ours will be forever, right? In righteousness. Yahweh Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahweh. All right, so and let me jump down to verse 22. So foolish was I, and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. Nevertheless, I am continually with thee. Thou hast holden me by my right hand, right? So the Lord, the Lord puts up for the righteous. If you remain with him and trust in him, he'll protect you and he got you, right? So we just have to put our faith and our trust in him, and he'll provide. All right, Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3, and thou will keep them in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee because he trusteth in thee. All right, so, this was a lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh. Lord willing, this was edifying. Shalom. Kwame Yashal.